Welcome to the Business and Bud Show. You know it's time. Start thinking like a winner when you get online. Streaming audio and video to get you primed for a future of success, a life you design. Business and Buds is the online show for people who want to learn about creating a thriving business and a thriving network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Business and Bud Show. Welcome back to another episode of Business and Buds. It's producer Pat Hilton, and Michael Bryant, the Michael Bryant himself, brought to you by Wellbeing Labs. Ladies and gentlemen, click the link in the description. Get yourself some. And it is it's a Friday today. You guys know that because I announced it. But what a wonderful day it's been. What a wonderful couple weeks it's been kicking off these episodes. And we were just talking about marketing and styles and all this kind of different stuff. And I like videos and pictures and stuff like that. But I know of friends that are copywriting experts. Maybe it's just that I'm not as good as they are at writing a whole bunch of words in certain types of styles or categories. And so I'm like, oh, well, that's not as good as what I do with videos and pictures.
So,
you know,
it could be that. I will say this. I'm a visual learner. I obtain almost everything visually. If there's a podcast, like a Joe Rogan podcast, I want to watch the video of it. I don't want to listen to it. I want to see their faces. I want to see context to their words and have it match to tonality. Whereas some people are visual learners, and it goes into the same way that you're going to market to them, because you want them, you have to educate them about your product, right? So it goes into how do you educate people in the way that they're going to ultimately get value from you and hopefully in return purchase something down the road. And like, we've tested out long form copy, which like if you were to print it, it would be like 12 pages. And that for our audience converts far better because our target demographic is over 50 plus. So those people didn't necessarily grow up with the visual learning capabilities that you or myself or our children will have. So it's a different way that you're trying to interact with their brains and try to sell them on something.
Nice. I dig it. Yeah, like I was telling you before we came on, I have a friend, Dana Derricks, who is a copywriting animal. He writes a lot of copy for Russell Brunson and the ClickFunnels crew, also a lot of people who run e-com stores and stuff like that. We were on the Wellbeing Labs site, which all of you should be ordering from, by the way, at wellbeinglabs.store. And it's visual like I was describing that I enjoyed. Pictures and little gummies and tinctures or whatever the heck you want to call it. That appeals to me. But on something like what Dana sells, where it's like a program or a coaching program or like a release your own book type of deal. He writes a lot of helps people ghostwrite books and release books and go number one on Amazon and stuff like that. So, you know, he goes through all these different formulas with little stars. You know, if you want to learn this, if you want to learn this, if you want to learn this, you got to do this to be successful, blah, 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 blah. So he's really good at that. But I always go to the bottom and see how he takes all the information and converts it into an offer, because that's always what interests me the most, because that's what I watch him do from stage. So like you said, I'm way more of a person that is someone who shared the stage with him. So I've kind of seen him do this in person more than people who just read his great copywriting on Facebook or Instagram or wherever else. So I like to see how he tries to convert with his words typed out rather than how he tries to convert visually in person. So it's interesting to me.
It's an interesting dynamic. I mean, like for our affiliate offers, for instance, we do long form copy, which means that we write like a very long story, and that's the marketing technique that we use to initially grab them on paid media. Whereas on SEO, the people that are coming over from SEO we've noticed are generally a little bit younger. So we're sending them direct to the store. The people that are going to be coming from this website or from this podcast rather are probably a little bit younger. So if they go to the store, it's more visual, and they don't need us to tell them everything about CBD because they've probably already educated themselves. Most people that are 40 or under understand that CBD can help, with inflammation. It can help with your joint problems. It can help with some stomach issues. I believe that and don't quote me on this, FDA, if you try to fucking come after me. I believe that there was a recent study that stated that CBD and cannabis can actually help kill cancer cells.
Hold on, let's try our new screen sharing feature and find out. Explain to me what the headline would be.
I believe it would be something along the lines of CBD killing cancer cells, and then it should come from like NCI or NHI, National Health Institute, I believe. It's not all cancer cells by any means, and it is not something that like we are endorsing because we don't know for a fact that it can actually do this. But there are studies that are trying to come out and prove these sort of methodologies. And until they're like really formally proven or vetted from the FDA, we unfortunately can't advertise in that manner.
Right. Well, got a little sheet here from the cancer.gov website that you guys can go look up if you type in CBD and cannabis versus cancer. It says here, cannabis has been used for medicinal purposes for thousands of years. By federal law, the possession of cannabis is illegal except with approved research settings. Has not approved cannabis, but chemical compounds of cannabis called cannabinoids particularly produce pharmacologic effects, particularly in the central nervous system and the immune system. Commercially available cannabinoids, such as whatever are approved drugs for the treatment of cancer-related side effects. Cannabinoids may have effects in the treatment of cancer-related side effects. So there you go. This is all on the cancer website, as you can see with our new screen sharing tool.
And again, we are at Wellbeing Labs. I want to make this abundantly clear on video. We are not making any claims of this whatsoever. Pat was just showing you educational research because I know
Only
Owen,
for educational purposes, folks.
Owen will review this and he will be like, "Hell no, you can't say that if I don't clarify."
Yeah, we're not saying that it cures cancer, but what the site does say, as we move back to our screen sharing format.
That was actually sweet. You made it go the whole way across.
Yeah, now I'm screwing it up. Here we go. Right here, as you can see, you can look up these effects, general information. Here are medical cannabis products guide to terminology. It goes through hemp and marijuana. If you guys didn't know, there's two different types of cannabis species, all the way to CBD. The potential effects of medical cannabis for people with cancer include the following: appetite stimulation, pain relief, and improved sleep. So there are references right here, as you can see, studies.
You can verify that it improves your sleep.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. Do your own research, ladies and gentlemen. We are not taking any medical stance regarding cannabis and the curing of cancer on this show.
Not at all.
There you go. But I just wanted to show you guys our new screen sharing feature because we're getting busy on the screen sharing feature there. So love it.
Pat's turning into to Jamie from Joe Rogan's show. He's really stepping up his game here. And we're wanting to bring you the best content. We're trying to bring you guys the best content that we can. And we're just trying to have fun while we do it. And this entire thing has just been a complete learning curve for us. I mean, Pat has done podcasts long before I have. And I tried and failed initially, and I came back to it. But, I mean, trial and failure is how any good thing gets done ever. And learning what my mistakes were. My biggest mistake whenever I tried doing the podcast before was that I tried to do it all myself.
Yeah, I've had that issue too. I struggle to really kind of stay on point sometimes with interviews and stuff when it's just me. I find that when I'm with another person and we're consistent, there's chemistry there. It's way better than randomly bringing guests on and talking about this, that, or the other thing. Also, the cool thing about Business and Buds is, yeah, we try to relate everything to business, and we try to relate everything to data and numbers and sales and what we do as media people or as e-com people or whatever, entertainers, marketers. But at the same time, it's just like we can bounce stuff off of each other. When I was doing even my stuff on my own, which I've moved on from. I talked to a girl, Rachel, about kind of reformatting all my stuff and making it based on comedy and entertainment only. So I pulled all that stuff down because that's where I'm going with my personal brand. It's just entertainment. Podcasts, I was able to get good enough at the production side of it to kind of cash flow my skills and turn it into a business to where I don't need to. I would rather pull people on for my clients than pull them on for me. Because it benefits everybody more. It's a better conversation. It flows better. You know, I've reached out to a ton of awesome people that are going to come on here. Like for instance, my buddy Dana, who is a copyright animal. He had a book that sold, I don't even remember how much it sold for. I think $2,000, the Dream 100 book. And I played it as conference. And if he only had a certain amount of them, so you could only order this book for a long time. You could only get it if you like had access to his group and his system that was associated with Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels and all this, dude.
I don't know.
Smart shit.
I don't know why I just thought of this, but there was a book on Amazon that was like $1,000 or whatever that like barely anyone had bought. But it was along the same lines of whenever Wayfair was getting in the news for selling kids in cabinets and stuff. And then Amazon was under fire a little bit for, you know, potentially doing the same sort of thing. And it was just so interesting whenever you said a book for over, you know, $1,000. I was thinking to myself, like, what is this guy selling, you know, kids in cabinets and shit? That was my initial, and it has no relation to this whatsoever. It just is what brought my brain to it. And I don't know, Dana, I'm sure that he's not selling fucking children. And I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing about selling children. I'm laughing about.
No, if you sell children, you're a fucking pile of crap.
It's so fucked up.
Got to get that router reform.
My brain is just so fucked up that the moment that you said
router reform.
But the moment that you said over $1,000 for a book, my brain immediately went in that direction for some reason. So I apologize for just fucking.
Oh, you're good. That's part of the fun of this. But that's what we were talking about is different styles and matchups. I mean, you look at back to the business thing. The reason why people buy WrestleMania or the reason why people buy boxing fights or the reason why people buy UFC fights is because of the marketing and the hype that goes into the matchup. It's a matchup thing. So they match up characters or personas or fighters or stylistically based on what they think the audience will buy. Sometimes it's really exciting. Sometimes it's really boring. I mean, they knew they could make money off Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. So they were able to sell that and sell it out through the roof. Conor McGregor had never even fought in a boxing ring, but it doesn't matter. I sat and watched it.
Well, I know that like my partner, Tom, who we're going to have on next week, I know that like he is going to be skeptical, to say the best, about sponsoring your show because it is out there, right? However, the fact that I see in you this level of virality if you will, that can occur from you. I would much rather hitch my horse to you as a content creator and then give you an opportunity to make a shit ton of money on being one of your sole advertisers on your other platforms.
Right.
So by doing that, number one, any person that watches your show, just like you said before this podcast started, they start to get almost like a muscle memory of this is the ad that's coming. It's like every time that they watch a television thing and you see a Hulu ad, you're like, oh, maybe I should sign up for Hulu. It's just brand awareness at the end of the day. And the more that you can build that and have more pillars, the better off your business is going to be for anything. So we may capture the visual learners and the people that are engaged in that content most, and we're sending them to the page that is geared for visual people. I'm not sending them to a long form copy sort of page. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like, absolutely.
We are trying to make the engagements as seamless as possible for the user based upon their preferences that they've already exhibited before they ever even land on somewhere that we can sell them.
Right. And I hope you guys pay attention when Mike talks about this e-commerce stuff, because while I'm a great producer and I'm a great marketer in the sense that I'm good at creating content and I'm good at creating video and memes and stuff like that, Mike's really good at the back end of sales conversions online to a product. I am way more of a service-based business because I'm an entertainer. So I sell myself as a service, which is fine, but products are different. So that's where we've been talking about, how do I take what I provide and add a product to it? Well, now I can still be me, but now go click on the product. So then they kind of start working together, which is dangerous, which I love. Well, there's a chapter of a Grant Cardone book called Be Obsessed or Be Average, and it's called Stay Dangerous. So just go read that. Go read that. That's probably his best book, in my opinion. I mean, he's sitting on a plane on the cover. Who does? If you don't like Grant Cardone sitting on a plane on the cover of his books, I mean, this show's probably not for you. I'm just going to be honest.
That's very true. Yeah,
it really is. Really is. Because we love that shit.
Well, dude, so I'll give you something, just a tidbit from like my personal day-to-day. I shared it with you a couple conversations ago, I'm certain of, but I don't think that I shared it on here. I'm building in a 20 by 20 screened in porch for my wife on the front of our house. And I knew, so here's a tip for you people as well. Happy wife, happy life, right? My wife has supported me through the lowest of fucking lows, almost bankruptcy, to the highest of highs whenever we're doing, a couple $100,000 a month net. And she has been there through all of that shit. She asked me for like one thing, which is to get the screened in porch done before the kid's birthday party. Simple enough ask, right? So me being myself, the kid's birthday is in October. It is now September. I wait until the last motherfucking minute to get it done.
It's almost done. I saw it on your Instagram story.
So it's almost done. But I waited till the last minute, and then we interviewed 7 people to do this. So this is going to tie back in. If you've been listening to episodes in succession, this is going to tie back into last episode, which is we don't care which coaching program you buy from. We don't care which action you take. I don't care if you buy my CBD. I don't give a fuck. However,
you should though.
You should. But I don't care if you do. I just want you to take action on one fucking thing in your day. Control some aspect. And that doesn't have to be spending money. It could be picking up a book that you bought 2 years ago that you never fucking read and reading it cover to cover and highlighting it and taking fucking notes and doing whatever it is that you need to do. It could be as simple as that. It doesn't matter. But it's so simple that people fuck it up because they think that it's hard. It's if you find someone that you relate to, that you would want to learn from, that you would want to emulate, and trust me, I get it. I'm not the fucking role model. I smoke weed and I drink on podcasts and I do whatever, but I live the life that I want to live. And guess what? I spend time with my kids more so than probably any other dads except for you, because you're in this very similar boat. But I choose to buy time with my kids. And you buy time in the manner that you want. Either you buy time in a podcast producer, so that way I'm not editing fucking podcasts. You buy time in reading a book, so that way you can learn something from someone that probably took 7 or 8 years to learn that fucking lesson. You're buying time. And that's what people don't fucking understand. And it infuriates me to the nth degree that I don't know what else to say about it. It's just, you have to take some fucking form of action. It's the butterfly effect, but in your life. Like, right. Have you ever heard that like a butterfly can like flap its wings and cause a hurricane?
I mean, no, but I like the analogy.
It is an analogy. I don't know if it's fucking true, but like
probably
something
not
could happen. It's obviously a culmination of events that happen from that, but that is the butterfly effect. It is a compounding interest of bettering yourself every fucking day. And the moment that you start to do that, the moment that like you go from playing gigs in a bar like you were, to producing content online, to running our show, to running multiple shows. And guys, if you want to book Pat, please fucking do. Reach out to him. Pat Hilton Live on Instagram.
Well, right. And it goes back to the same thing too. If I wouldn't have, I know all these skills, but if I'm so fucking hard-headed that I'm not going to use them, I'd rather get paid last to play in a dark corner. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to really struggle to grow, and you're going to struggle to get the best results that you can get. You've got to find ways to adapt. The people that were not willing to adapt, let's go back to this one, and this is going to hurt. It's going to hurt some feelings.
I like it. Let's go.
And you guys need it. There were a lot of people when I started making funny songs for Grant Cardone or Gary Vee and like not getting paid for it because I wanted to perform on their events. So I was willing to just give them something to perform on the events. They were like, well, that's stupid, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you're doing all this like video work and stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, essentially I'm working on new skills and new ways to improve as an entertainer.
Well, can I ask you something?
And then look at how much that converted to in the long run anyway.
One simple thing I want to ask you from doing that. And this is going to tie into your point. So that's why I'm interrupting your thing here.
Get it.
Do you think that you are better off now than when you were a year ago?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely.
Are you happier now than you were a year ago?
Absolutely.
Do you consider yourself to be more financially stable and successful than you were a year ago?
Yes.
Do you have a better positive outcome in foresight of what's going to happen in your next life?
Yeah. So absolutely. And that kind of ties back to who are you taking advice from? Okay. And this is where it's going to sting a little bit for some of you guys. But if you're taking advice from the guy that plays every Thursday night at, Joe Schmo's Music Live, okay, and he makes $200 a night, and he's telling you, oh, well, that's stupid, silly, goofy bullshit songs and skits aren't ever going to work in the entrepreneur space, blah, 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 blah. That dude's never even done it before, number one. Number two, how's he going to tell you what's worth that a song, that advertisement skit that you make isn't worth $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 when he's never fucking sold one? You guys got to think about this. Who's giving you advice? Hold on. And that guy, who I know his name, but I'm not going to talk shit about him because he's still doing the same thing in the same bar 3-4 years after he told me that the shit wouldn't work. And he's still on my Facebook page. And guess who never likes anything I post of, I play this business event, or here we are on this podcast show, or here's this skit that got 40,000 hits on YouTube of me acting like a funny news broadcaster. And here's this funny song about Netflix, got 12,000 views, and I monetized this, and I signed on this. I had a $10,000 month, this and that. That motherfucker doesn't like any of that shit. Why? Because he doesn't think it's possible for him. That doesn't mean it's impossible for me. You gotta vet who you're listening to when it comes to where you want to go. When Grant Cardone saw my funny song, when I had like no money and I made it in the corner of my apartment, he was like, "This is fucking brilliant, dude. That's fucking brilliant. Will you send me the file? This is brilliant. Yeah, you totally should play the lunch break at my event. You're hilarious. Do your thing. Go up there, do your thing." The dude was so busy that weekend, we barely even had a chance to connect. I'm coming off the stage and he's going back up to the stage. I played the lunch break because that's where I fit in the best. Some of you need to understand that you're at the lunch break level and not at the headlining act level too. That might be a lesson for people too. You need to stick to the lunch break because that's where your level is, and still get on the bill instead of thinking you're the headline act when you're not. That's a humbling thing for some people. They think they're way up here. They think they should be the main event, but really what you need to be doing is like fighting in the undercard and just getting on the bill.
Well, here's something that most people probably won't talk about, right? Here's where I will. We did 5 million our first year in revenue, right? That's incredible numbers. You want to know how much we paid ourselves, Tom and I?
Oh, you told me not much.
Out of that, $40K a piece.
Right.
You want to know where the rest of that fucking money went? Right back into the business.
Right.
Because I don't fucking need a Lambo at 30 years old. I want one, and I have a very simple rule about things. If you can't afford to buy it 2-3 times in cash, you can't fucking afford it.
Mike's on the Uncle G language right now.
It's just a fact. And if you can't, then that's okay. If you need to buy it for your Instagram persona, that's great. Whenever I buy a fucking Lambo, it's because I fucking have an extra $900,000 that I don't even know what to fucking do with. That's the reality of it. And most people don't want to get to that level of cash. They don't know what it feels like to have that level of cash. And it feels different once you get there because I've had it all stripped away from me multiple fucking times. This is not my first time at bat here. So I know whenever I'm taking home cash that I'm going to be putting it into other assets that are going to cash flow for me. That's the only way that I'm going to make that money work.
Right. And again, back to Grant Cardone, if you don't have passive income to pay for those things, then you shouldn't be buying it. He says that about his Rolls Royces or his Benz trucks. Or the only reason why I'm buying this, and the other thing is the people see him now in his 60s and he buys that stuff and they're like, "Oh, dude, he's buying all this bullshit." It's like, well, he never bought that for the first 35 years of his life, you knuckleheads, because he was creating the cash flow and creating the income, creating the relationships, creating the communication style that could get him in front of the people, earn him the income. You know what I mean? All of these different types of factors that he was working on his whole life so that, yeah, he could have those things now. So that, he could write a check to get Mandalay Bay 10,000 people for 3 straight days. Guess what that was? That was an investment.
Mm-hmm.
I understood that when I proposed, "Hey, can I play? Where's the best place for me to fit in that doesn't cost you anything?" It's the lunch break. Some of you guys have got to come down to a level, come back to the ground floor here and understand that, how am I going to build this thing? Some of you guys are maybe at way more advanced levels, and that's great, dude. Fuck yeah, great for you.
Agreed.
But I think a lot of people that or our friends and our fans from my corner of the park are just starting Etsy stores, or are just launching their shows, or just launching videos, or need help with how do I communicate on camera, or how do I do this? You guys, there's a whole universe out there, and that's why I'm so glad that we started this show where I have somebody else on the screen that can help you guys understand it. There's millions and millions and millions of dollars of sales out there, and you just got to aim for it.
Well,
but you also got to understand where you're at and not be upset with yourself about that or depressed about that. Who am I going to give something to that's going to receive it well and then push me in the right direction? Because that's all that happened with like Gary Vee and I, or Grant Cardone and I, or Dana Derricks, Russell Brunson, any of those people. All those people did was say, hey, man, this guy's giving me a reason to root for him and to give him an opportunity. It wasn't money. It was opportunity. You've got to earn people's trust and respect before they're going to give you anything. Can't just walk up and ask for shit. That's why we make fun of looters on our show. You can't steal success. You actually have to earn it. I know that's a fucking hard one for people.
It's impossibly true to understand, because
you can't loot success.
You can buy your way to success, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy opportunities.
Correct. And
buy opportunities.
So Grant is a perfect example of this. Gary is if I had the income that they did then and the skills that I have now. The other thing is I didn't start talking about anything in business, and I was pretty good at fucking selling real estate. Like, check my numbers. They were not bad by any stretch of the imagination. And it's like, okay, I wasn't happy. My time to money ratio was off. And so I wanted to switch something to where I could earn while we were asleep. I wanted to create a revenue stream that was, people were able to shop. People were able to buy products from me while I'm not focusing on that thing. Once I build it, it's there, and then you're pivoting, but you're building your team at the same time. So you're constantly buying your time back out of the equation. And the moment that you can do that, I know we were talking about it with this show. If we continue to scale this show, you're going to need to find a co-editor for some things, not to edit the videos, because we don't clip this episode.
We do everything live.
We don't give a fuck. And that's just how it goes. Like, I'm not going to have you clip an episode, because I don't care if there's dead air on the space. I don't care if I fuck up with a word. It doesn't matter.
No. Well, and that's not going to make us any better anyway. Going back and trying to fix it to please some person that doesn't even know who we are, that potentially isn't even a customer or a fan anyway. What good does that do? I would rather just work on it and get better and quicker and faster with our release and better with our delivery and stuff like that. I mean, we haven't had any interviews because we're getting syncopated and getting, in alignment first anyway. So it's all good. I mean, all of these things go into what we're talking about. We've consistently been on a couple shows a week now since we agreed to even do this. We've got 8 episodes. This is episode number 8, getting ready for a launch. We talked about doing 2 episodes for a launch. We're at episode 8.
Yep.
So I encourage you guys to ask yourself, if you've got a goal and you're only putting 1 day of work into it, or 1 hour a week into something, how quick are you even going to get there? Are you going to get there? How serious are you about achieving a goal if you're only willing to put in an hour a week? Oh, it's just a side hustle, man, but it's my dream. If it's your fucking dream, then you're willing to put anything into it too. A lot of people have these big goals and dreams, but they don't put big action behind it, right? We see this all the time online.
So you see it all the time online, but what you don't see is, like, I had a day whenever we lost that merchant account. I had a week where we went from 40,000 a day all the way down to 8,000 a day.
Oh yeah, you talked about that.
There's not a lot of people that are going to be like, oh yeah, like I'm on track for the same thing. I had merchant accounts go down. So like I have I have other issues that I have to deal with in order to get back up to scale. It's just a burden that I have to deal with. And it's one of the things that, like, I'm okay to talk about that. At the end of the day, my business model works in such a way that, like, I only pay for sales that I achieve. So it doesn't keep my expenses super high. I just have to change cap ratios on certain people. And people don't understand that once you build a business model, even if you have roadblocks, which you fucking will, you will have them. You have to learn. I already learned this mistake once. So I was prepared whenever it happened again. The first time I went to 0 sales a day for 2 weeks. And it is what it is. Like, you have to be able to take those hits on the chin to learn what you need to learn. And there's no one that's going to teach you that but doing the fucking work yourself, investing in it yourself. And I wanted to talk a little bit about you and your background. Like, when you first started playing guitar, how old were you?
Like 18. So I had just graduated high school, went to Mizzou. I went to the University of Missouri for the first year of college. And a lot of things changed for me there. It was the same people from St. Louis that went to the University of Missouri. So it was like an extension of high school.
So it kept your bubble.
Right. We talked about this bubble shit on another episode too. And so, I was in a band and we were kind of like doing our own thing. And it was like, other friends were joining like fraternities and having, Haze Me Week and all this kind of shit. And I just kind of like started to separate a little bit from the pack. And then once the band thing wasn't going on anymore, I started writing my own tunes. So I started playing guitar because I was the lead singer of the band there for a while. Mm-hmm. And then I started writing my own tunes. So I moved back home to St. Louis, did a little bit of community college, and then moved to Arizona. So at that time, I was pretty much writing my own songs. And so I learned by creating my own songs. Okay. I listened to a lot of music, but I wrote my own stuff. That's how I learned how to play. So this is at a time where like MySpace was the happening thing. So like YouTube and like tutorials and virtual learning and all this kind of stuff that we have now that's available. Like, if there was a mastermind group, and here I will pitch you on our group here on this one. If there was a group where there was a guy that had played all the biggest business conferences and met all the entrepreneur custom creator people that could show me how to release my own show, and I wouldn't even need to leave my house to like work with this guy, I would totally buy his whatever membership. I would buy it.
Yep.
But
or
it didn't even exist back then.
Yeah, but or in the flip side, in the same group, having the ability to do Q&As with not only us live and exclusively us, that would be something that we don't release on the podcast ever.
No, it's exclusive.
But we would also bring on any of the people that we have for guests are going to be on for a live Q. So yeah. It's like,
so that's what I'm getting at. Like back then, this kind of shit was not available back then. The technology that I was learning, so I kind of wanted to relate it. The technology I was learning back then that we're using now, there was no way to even monetize my skills for a long time because no one was even using it. Zoom, StreamYard, Facebook Live. Facebook Live only came out like 3 or 4 years ago. It was like a 2015 or 2016 thing. Maybe even later than that. 20 years ago, we were doing live streaming essentially to TV, to television for American Idol tours.
I'm wondering.
After I graduated from Arizona, I worked for a company in Vegas. So it's 2005, 15 years ago.
Hold on.
Stay on task, but
I need to bring you back here real quick because I want to tie
you
something.
had to have huge racks of gear to go live on TV. Now you can do it from a laptop. Is all I'm saying is times have changed so much.
Yes. So hold on.
From when I picked up a guitar.
Perfect. So it took you, how old are you right now?
I'm 37 now. I turn 38 next year.
Okay.
2021 in February.
So it took you 19 years, not 19, but you've been playing guitar for 19 years, honing in your craft. And that wasn't even a musical instrument that you had touched whenever you were initially learning music or anything. It was something that you picked up later on in life and dedicated your craft to that. And then that has now yielded several other specialty skills that you have. And it's just amazing. Like that's the thing that people don't understand. Like, I really wish that I could get into like my full background. Owen is looking into some statute of limitations. I will talk to you guys about it, but it is amazing what you can learn from other skill sets that drive you into the place that you need to be if you have the right mentorship. If you have the right intentions with owning in those crafts and those specialties, they can yield you so much money in just such a small subset of a niche that it is crazy. Like,
and that's where I started to seek mentorship. So I started writing my own tunes and I was like, okay, well, I need to figure out how to record. I need to figure out how to produce, and I need to figure out how to put on my own live shows. So that's why I moved to Arizona, and I was like, okay, well, they have the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences is the school I went to. They have a huge live sound room and boards and racks of gear and monitor setups. So you can run the stage, you can run the back end that runs the speakers. So when you look at a stage, if I'm looking at you guys, there's a stage and then there's a little board off to the side, and that person runs all the speakers that are on the front of the stage. It's like you see Mr. Rockstar Man, like he like puts his foot on the speaker, like sings or screams or whatever. Those are the monitor systems. So you have to have a separate person that runs the monitor systems than the person who's all the way in the back running the speakers that people hear. There's so many steps to this, right? And then there's like guitar techs and bass techs and vocal techs, all those racks of gear. There's somebody who, if something goes wrong, controls all those racks, a specific person that tunes all the instruments. Each instrument has to be tuned a certain way. Sometimes you see an artist, Bruce Springsteen, plays a song on the guitar and then he takes off the guitar and puts on another guitar that's tuned differently.
I didn't know
so
that.
The whole band has to replace guitar systems because that guitar pack or that physical guitar is tuned differently than the one he took, unplugged the guitar wireless pack, hand that guitar to somebody, and then receive another guitar that's tuned differently for the next song.
Bro, I did not know that at all.
Like, dude, there's so much shit to this. And I knew in my head, I'm like, I have to learn all of this. I need to know how to tune. I need to learn how to do this. I got to learn how to stream. I got to learn because I knew that the technology was going to change. And if I was ahead of the game and I was entertaining, I could be the entertainer instead of being the person that's behind the camera, just running the camera. Well, why don't I run the camera and get in front of it at the same time? That's what we're doing right now. I'm producing the show, but I'm on the show.
How did you have the foresight to know that? Because like whenever I was in college, I was just a fucking idiot. So
well, I wanted to be an entertainer. So I figured if I want to be an entertainer and I want to get paid for it, I need to know how to run all the stuff that goes with producing a production. So, and this is an entertainment production. Yep. How does it work? If I really want to make money, I have to know how to run the production, and I need to be on the camera as well. I need to be the quote, what we used to call the featured artist. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers was one of my clients, one of our clients. It wasn't my client, it wasn't my company, but I was the production manager for that production. I managed the monitor systems and the front of house systems and the guitar and the bass techs. I'd go out and I'd line check everything with my acoustic guitar and write little funny tunes. We're at the freaking Boston Fleet Center. The whole place is empty, and I'm sound checking, writing songs about, the bass player's mom in the middle of the afternoon. It's fucking hilarious. That's how I got good at knowing how I sound in the situation, but also knowing every single piece of the production so that I know how it's produced, and I'm working with the biggest names in the game, and I know how they're entertaining people. So I learned it from watching people and producing it to people at the same time, where a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to set up the speaker and get paid $17 an hour and I'll come back at 5. No, I was sitting there all day meeting everyone in all these towns. And then, like we said, once I started smoking joints with people like Afro Man and Coolio, and I wanted to book my own tours, that was when I was like, okay, well, now I've worked with all these people, so I can build the posters, build the promo videos, run the monitors, because these were smaller productions in clubs.
For sure.
We can book at these clubs. This is the guarantee. This is the amount of money. You know what I mean? I can DJ. I'll run all the DJ equipment, and I'll open up the show with my acoustic guitar. So I'm booking all my own tours on off time from working for that company. And it got to a point where I just quit, because I was like, now I know how to do my own thing. And let's be honest, that's when it got hard, because now I wasn't the client wasn't provided for me, and the clipboard with all the gear, the monitors and the front of house, that all wasn't provided for me. Now I had to really actually do all those things, not just know that the green light was up from the guy. I had to actually go and do it all.
So what was that like being so you were in your early 20s whenever you met Afro Man?
Yeah. So I was probably 23, 24.
He was like one of the first people to really go like
viral. So like that term wasn't even around. And I've told this story before. I was just on the phone with him last night. He did an ad for a real estate friend of mine. He rewrote his song Because I Got High for MCB Homes real estate company in Sacramento. So I was smoking. I shouldn't have been, because it was against company policy, and he sniffed me out. So it was like Warped Tour or something. So I contracted myself on a lot of stuff too. I was really good at networking and then selling myself for more money outside of company contracts. Yeah. So, I'm doing my own thing and I'm smoking, and somebody taps me on the shoulder, and I'm like, fuck, this isn't good. And I turn around, and we have a music video. So if you type in Pat Hilton and Afro Man on YouTube, there's a music video of us. He rapped on one of my songs. You can see how much taller he is than me. He's a big dude. So I turn around, I look, and I kind of like look up. I don't know. I'm like 5'8" or 5'9". He's probably 6'3". And then his hair makes him like even taller. So I like kind of look up, and I'm like, Afro Man? And he kind of like grabs the joint before he even says anything. Doesn't he just does. Yeah, player. I smelled something good. I had to come over and say, what's up? It's your boy, Afro Money Making MAM, the American hustler, the American dream. I get this, but with respect. Yeah. Like goes through his whole thing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're going to get me fired. Give me that back. And he's like, okay, player. He'll laugh when I tell the story. And then we just kind of started laughing, and I gave him shit because at that time he had an iPod with all his beats on it, and he would like rap on the stage, like rap on the stage. And then when he got done, he'd like turn around and he'd like start scrolling through his iPod, be like DJing his own shows. Like we'd run a cable to him and he was like DJing his own shows with the iPod and he left the fucking clicking noise on. So like he'd be like going through the snares, it'd be click, 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 click.
Oh,
click,
it's one
click,
of the old
click,
click
click,
ones.
click, click. Yeah, okay. And then he'd hit the button and he'd be like, ding, ding, ding. He'd be like, yeah, okay. Hey. And he'd start like rapping along to the thing. And I remember after I met him, I like went over and like watched his show the next day. And I'm like, does he have a fucking iPod with the clicking noise going through our audio? This can't happen. No one cared though, because he's so fun and like energetic and fun. And I don't even think anybody thought about it. Or everybody's higher than Mike Bryant, so they're not even thinking about it. So yeah, so click, 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 and he's like, Palmdale, come back to me. And I'm like, all right, dude, why don't I get all these digital files, put them on my computer, and then set aside a time to come to, because there's on Warped Tour, there's two main stages. Anybody who's been to Warped Tour knows this. I don't even think Warped Tour is around anymore. That's so sad. Now I'm heartbroken. Two stages, and then there's all the mini stages. So he was like on the other stage. I don't even think I was working his stage at the time. So I'd get Avenged Sevenfold or whatever set up and get them all ready to go. And then I would run over and I built a playlist and I would like be the DJ for Afro Man. So I would just click through on iTunes on the playlist. Again, how can I bring value to this guy? And then it got to a point where I'm like, dude, why don't I just book his shows, make the promos, and open up the show, and then I'll just run the computer, and then he's got a DJ too. Then he doesn't have to click on the songs on the iPod. And so we started touring together.
That's crazy. So you
click on the iPod thing. Oh my God,
bro!
So you does that too sometimes.
You literally now it won't click. So he has that for him because he just has to scroll. So he'll be good.
But he intentionally set the clicking noise because it helped him keep track of where he was on like the playlist and stuff.
Does he still use the old iPod?
We'll ask him. He'll come on and we'll ask him.
I definitely want to ask him if he does.
So funny. But the funny thing about that, let me find this file real quick. Here it is. So like I still do business with him. He just made like this song for my mortgage. Roll another blunt. Just did this. Just sent this to me last night. He literally remixed his own song for my friend's advertisement.
I need this.
Here we go.
Pay my mortgage, but then I got high. Oh, come on, y'all. I was gonna call MCB home, but then I got high. My house is in pre-foreclosure, and I know why. Yeah, because I got high.
So anyway, you got to follow MCB Homes to get the full version. But you know real estate, so you know. My house is in pre-foreclosure.
That's amazing.
I mean, dude, that guy has always been an advocate of me. So like we were talking about too, how can I continue to help him sell? How can I continue to convert for him? How can I continue to get him new gigs? He's now selling advertisements out of his house, just like me, because I know something will come along where someone's like, hey, this is what we need. Boom, 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 boom. And he'll be like, well, I don't want to do those other four things, but I can show up. And he'll call me and say, hey, I need an opening acoustic act. I need you to DJ. I need you to write the song advertisement. I'll sing whatever you need me to sing on it. And this and that and the other thing. We'll fly out there and get paid. Those opportunities come when you are able to pass the ball and able to, figure out what moves you need to make to win long term. See what I mean?
I need you to hook us up with him.
Yeah, we will.
I need an advertisement for Wellbeing Labs, and that was fucking amazing. I need something like that as
But
well.
that's what I was saying too. It's like, man, I went through a phase where when I quit that job, it was hard times. Like, my dad wasn't going to let me mooch off the family tit. So I had to go sleep on my friend's floor back home in St. Louis and all these different things. And it was like those artists, and I said this on the last episode, those artists that were rappers and stuff like that were the people that got behind me opening and booking the shows and using my production skills and music songwriting and performing all these things when everyone else was like, no, it's too goofy, or it's too out there, or it's not corporate enough. A lot of this whole it's not corporate enough stuff has faded away because the internet broke the mold. So what was awesome 10 years ago that like fit this little corporate sales pitch mode of what you thought certain things fit into pop culture has been just absolutely blasted out of the water because the internet evened the playing field for people. That's why I don't live in California anymore. I don't need Hollywood to be successful. All I need is the internet. Joe doesn't live in California either. He lives in the middle of Ohio.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably not.
Times have changed.
I'm probably not too far from him, to be honest.
Yeah. So it's important to remember that all goes back to what we're talking about is whatever you do or whatever you want to do, your business idea or your vision or your dream or your goals or whatever, all of that stuff is possible. You just have to format it the correct way. And you've got to understand, how do I fit in with other people's stuff to give them value? Like I explained with the 10X thing. I didn't walk up to him and say, hey, let me play for an hour. I'm the best. I deserve the main slot. I said, let me play 10 minutes at the lunch break.
No, but what if you did walk up with balls like that and you were like, yo, I'm the shit. Give me your main spot and I'll show you why after. What if you just walked up with nuts like that and you were like, this is because I feel like that's how Grant would probably walk up to someone.
Well, the original agreement was that I was going to, have like my name on the board. And then when he was going to come back out after lunch, I was going to get everybody to clap and stuff like that. But it didn't work out because let's just face the facts. There were so many speakers. It was such a huge event. It was sold completely out of its bridges. And it was a high stress, high anxiety situation. And they put me in where they could fit me in.
I remember your
the lunch break,
right?
Oh, dude. Yeah. You can go watch that on YouTube too. Pat Hilton at 10X GrowthCon. The guitar pack, like I described this with the Bruce Springsteen thing. If you don't test all this stuff prior to going out on stage, you can have, and most likely will have, a malfunction. So they didn't test the packs with anything other than the microphones. So when they plugged the pack into my guitar produces sound at a different frequency level, right? And at a different wavelength and stuff like that than the wireless microphones, the clips that everyone was using. So when they didn't like test channels or search for channels the right way, it was cutting in and out the whole time. So like I said on the other episode, because I have had experience with these things happening, testing them for people like Tom or whoever else, American Idol bands or whatever, I know that if I'm losing a connection, even if I can't change the channel with the transmitter, if I've got a connection, that means that the connection is stable. So it can come back if you lose it, which is great. So they knew I had a connection. They're like, I'll just throw them up there. Run out of time. They were strapped. Lunch was pushed back. There's a million different factors as to why it went the way it did, but they didn't really check it. And so when I lost signal, I would you see me on the video, I'm like lifting up my arm and stuff like that. I'm like moving my body and stuff like this because then the pack is exposed to the transmitter and it reconnects. And then you see me move and I'm like, doing my thing for a minute. And then it's just funny. It's just funny when you put a guitar tech on stage with a tech malfunction and he finds a way to make it work. But that just goes right back to what we were talking about. Years and years and years and years and years and years and years of doing that. Watching somebody with an iPod clicking through their songs. Well, how can I make that better?
Yep. I was just going to say that.
It's just taking what exists and making it better. And I would even argue that people who are the most successful, and again, this is an Andy Frisella thing, with First Form, with his company, all they did was take protein and make it better. Like, their protein's really good. It's priced high because it does taste really good, but they took boring chocolate proteins and made it more like a milkshake. They made it better. Reinventing the wheel isn't always necessarily the best way to go about a business idea or a product or service concept. It's taking what is already working and making it better.
Correct.
How many freaking CBD people are there out there? Probably a lot. You guys took
a couple thousand
certain things that work and you made it better, built a niche out of it, and you're successful.
Well, we're certainly trying to be.
So it's a beautiful thing. But the knowledge base of educating yourself on how certain pieces of what you want to do work, dude, that's the name of the game. When everybody else graduated college in 2005, I continued learning all these different things up until now. Now, I'm sure that all those people do too within their niche. Real estate friends of mine are always investing into masterminds and live events and to get around other investors, to partner with other hedge funds and all these different things. Those people don't just stop learning. It's just that I wanted to learn something that's seemed like it was way off at the time, but now that technology has caught up with where we're at in like social media and branding and personal branding and all of this kind of stuff, dude, it's hot and it's going to remain hot forever now because the internet balanced the playing field. I don't need Warner Brothers, pay Warner Brothers $500,000 to produce my record anymore. I can just go live on Facebook, play every Friday from 4 to 5, sponsored by Wellbeing Labs, and then cut up all the best versions of my songs and come out with live albums. And then one of those songs I came up with on the spot, just like these funny skits. Well, what if one of those gets 15 million plays on Spotify? And I didn't even have to go to like some wild studio. I just made it up on the spot, but it's pop culture and it caught on and it got re-tagged. And I've got a certain shirt on and a certain thing in the video and our sales go through the roof. Times changed, dude.
Well,
Times
I remember
changed. Trends are now happening in the moment rather than you spend a whole bunch of upfront money and then try and make the trend happen. That's what changed.
The first time that I ever like supported you in any way financially, I remember this. It pops up anytime that I plug my fucking phone into my car. Is I don't remember when you wrote it. It was a couple years ago, but Snapchat Girl.
Yeah.
You made this song and you had never said to anyone before, like, hey, can you buy my stuff or anything like that? And you made like your first ask. You had been like producing videos online, but you made like your first ask. And I remember I saw it. And the moment that I saw it, I was like, I got to buy this. Like, even if I don't listen to it, this dude, I respect the fuck out of his game. And I watched you watching Gary's techniques and the way that you were doing things. And I was like,
a lot of those techniques he probably told me to do, like putting the little box on the screen and just singing about everything. That was his idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like, I remember that sort of shit. And it seems like so long ago and we've both come so far in our, careers that it's crazy. Whenever that was happening, I was selling real estate. So it's like, it's so crazy how your life progression can change, but it requires work. And I didn't post anything on social media for the first year that I even had a CBD company.
I didn't even know you had it, to be completely honest.
And I talk to you all the time.
Yeah, I had no idea what you even did.
But it was like, I was working on something to work on it, not because I wanted any sort of validation. I didn't care. I didn't need you to know what I was trying to accomplish. I just wanted to try and get the work done. And that's what I see on social media, which is all these people are perfect in every single thing. Like, my lighting isn't perfect here. I haven't fucking shaved my head in 5 days. I look like a gorilla. Like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not here so that way I can look pretty. My beard, whenever I get busy and I'm in like hyper growth mode, I don't fucking shave my beard or my head or anything because I'm in a certain mindset and I don't have time to allocate for shit. I don't leave my house. Who the fuck do I have to impress visually other than my wife? And she's seen me way worse than having this bald ass head. So, like, at the end of the day, like, I focus on the things that I need to focus on. You do the same. Right. And if we can get one or two other people to just focus on what they need to focus on, I consider this episode a complete success. Like, simple as that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't even care if it benefits us financially.
Well, and that's the whole thing about it. I mean, and again, you guys got to understand, there are so many things I did to get better rather than get paid, because the better you get, the more you get paid anyway.
Yep.
Do you think that Usain Bolt gets paid to practice all the time? Maybe now he does because he won 5 gold medals. But when he was training in Jamaica, you know, and nobody knew who he was, I'm sure that there were times where, you know, he didn't have some kind of hyper hydration product that sponsored him, or some shoe company that sponsored him, or some apparel company that sponsored him. And he was running around with some shitty shoes and some, you know, torn up clothes, just like I had to play on all kinds of busted ass guitars and stuff to learn until my fingers were practically falling off. So, you know, it's that people forget that that's how you get good, is by focusing on getting good, because the better you get, the more you get paid anyway. Focus on getting good first.
Here's another great thing that, like, you could compare it to. I've had this barn unfinished in here. I literally finished off one fucking corner for an office, just so that way I had a place to come. Because before, whenever we were growing the company, again, I paid myself $40,000 for the whole fucking year.
Yeah.
I didn't try to make this a podcast studio whenever I didn't have a podcast.
Right.
Like, I'm investing money into this place now because it makes sense financially to do so, because I have a plan in mind on where I'm going to be going. It didn't make sense a year ago. And I live in Pennsylvania. It's hot as fuck in the summer and cold as fuck in the winter. So, like, I'm out here, no insulation. I'm out here in the winter too. This is where I make my fucking calls. Right. And I did it last winter, and I did it the winter before that. And I would have done it this winter too. If I didn't need to spend the money here, I wouldn't have. I would have kept it in my business.
Right. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
But that's the part where people get fucked up. They think that you need to have everything all at once to get started. And you don't.
No, you don't. I learned all the production stuff first, then went and started producing my own shows. I worked some of the biggest productions that have ever existed on the planet. Tom Petty's not even alive anymore. We did a show in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. There were like 100 and something thousand people there. One of the first shows I did for him. I think so. Yeah. One of the shows we did for him was like the Hollywood Bowl. And I mean, that's a prestigious venue. I was nervous as fuck before that gig. It was one of my first jobs in any kind of major position as a sound check guy. I felt like a fuck. And again, you couldn't take pictures back then. It was way, way, way against policy to like selfie culture didn't exist. This is before some of you youngsters were even around. Selfies, that term didn't even exist. You didn't take pictures with artists. There was no like backstage VIP, any of that. Like Florida Georgia Line does that now. They're smart, by the way. I like that band. That's why I use them too. They write great songs. But that kind of stuff, VIP afternoon, take pictures with the artist. They didn't do that. This is real rock star shit. They show up, they play, and they fucking leave. And if you got a picture, good for you. That stuff, the whole selfie culture, the whole social media culture didn't exist. And so taking pictures of yourself at a venue or with artists that you worked with or something was highly against company policy. And to be honest, it wasn't cool. Those people would think you weren't cool if you acted like they were too cool for school. I don't even know how else to describe it. Like now I take pictures with everybody I'm around because it's like, boy, I wish I would have had pictures with some of the people I used to roll with. I never had pictures with Joe. Great example. Never had any pictures of me with Joe Afroman until like 2013. And I met him way before that. Way before that. I think the first time I took a picture with him was years later, almost 10 years later.
I think about that all to get to a point where I have someone just fit all the time.
Got to get Mike some router reform. Any of you router companies that would like to sponsor the show, send Mike some router reform. I think he's back.
That'd be great. So I don't even know what we were saying.
Something about not taking pictures with people. It's annoying to people sometimes when you're trying to bug them for a picture and they're trying to. That's why I was saying this earlier as Grant and I came back and crossed paths at that event. I didn't like beg him for a picture or anything because he was getting ready to get on stage and like getting mic'd up and stuff. Dude, it's not a good time for that. It's a terrible time to get in his personal space and ask for a picture. It was a bad time for you. You already got pictures with him. You already got filmed on his big ass stage. You don't need a picture with the man. Leave him alone.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe that was just the training I got from back in the day. That was not a social climate. It was a production climate. It was him getting ready, getting in the right mindset. It's not a time for, hey, take a picture with me. Not a fucking birthday party.
To me, that's common sense, dude. Like I was at lunch.
Yeah.
I was at lunch with Owen at he lives at. I'm not going to say the name. And so I was at
You're cut
lunch
out
with him,
anyway.
and one of the Steelers linebackers was there. And I recognized him. People came up to him, asked him for stuff. I didn't say a fucking word to him. I just as he walked by, I was like, "Hey, how are you?" Classic white guy head nod. Here you go. And like that was
the old white dude what up move.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Nice to see you. I acknowledge you. I respect you. I'm gonna leave you the fuck alone.
Right.
And like I feel way better about that than having a picture with him. Because I may meet him at a function later on, but if I'm that guy that went up to him and was like, "Hey, can I have a picture?" He's going to be like, "Oh, I remember you. You're the bald dude with a fucking Chinese food container tattooed on your arm. Like, I recognize you. No one else has that." And I'm not interested in that. I don't want even if I went to, which I don't, I've never been to many of these events with Gary or any of them, I would not ask them for pictures with them. Because number one, D-Rock or someone is there filming, and I'm not going to ask you for another thing. If you choose to post it, great. If you don't, hopefully it's archived forever. I don't know. But I don't personally need it because I have it up here. I don't need to live in the moment in that way. I'm horrible at taking pictures of in the moment shit.
Well, yeah, and I mean back then we didn't even have cameras on us anyway. The technology wasn't there. I had a little Nokia phone. Text messages cost a bunch of money. There were no unlimited text plans or data plans or selfie images or any of it. It literally didn't exist. I don't even think the iPhone came out yet at the time
probably
I'm
not.
referring to. So, and that was actually something somebody taught me too. When we were building all the systems, I was an intern at that company before I even got hired. So I worked for free for X amount of hours to get my intern credits to get my degree. And in that time, I met this dude. His name is Dan May. And he had done speaker systems for Tom Petty and all of these people for years and years and years. Poison and the Scorpions and the Rolling Stones. I mean, dude had been around for a while. And I remember, I don't know who it was. One of our clients was like Nickelback too. They were really big at the time. And people can say whatever they want about Nickelback, but they're actually really nice guys. So
I love Nickelback. I'm gonna get.
They wrote some great shit.
Clown me in the comments, please, because I fuck with Nickelback.
I don't even care if you clown us, because if you're going to clown us, I'd like for you also to share how many song plays you have on Spotify. And let's compare who whooped whose ass, because I bet you they landed more punches on the scorecard. Again, we base our results on data. Anyway, this Chad Kroger guy, I think is his name. I believe his name's Chad. He shows up. They got motorcycles and shit in Vegas, and they zip up to our warehouse at PRG Audio. And they're hanging out. And I'm all kind of like starstruck because I like just graduated from the school and I never met anybody. And I'm like, oh, dude, those are the dudes. And I start like walking over there, and he kind of grabs my shoulder. He's like, dude. No. I'm like,
act like you've been here before.
What are you talking about, dude? I go over there and pretty much kiss this guy's ass. And he's like, no. My team, we're building this thing. Okay. We focus on our work, right? Let them come to you. I'm like, whatever, dude. He's like, get to work. Hold on.
Bro, that's a hard lesson to learn.
That cable's upside down, boy. And I'm like, fuck. So I like go and I doing my stuff later. And it's interesting because again, the stuff plays out. This is why I got the gig that I got. So we were setting up Tom Petty's system. Those guys stopped by. They were a client too. They all used the same system that we were building. And so they were coming out to check out some new board. Now, a few hours later, they were still there. Everyone was going to go to lunch. I guess they were meeting with the CEO of the company to write up contracts and payments and all this shit. So they came by, which is pretty cool. And so we're going through some stuff, right, with the board. And Dan's neighbor, God, I forgot his name. I think it was Craig. Dan's neighbor, because I lived in Dan's house, by the way, after a while. As an intern, he found out I had nowhere to live. So I started living in his house. And we're doing all the stuff, and there's some kind of error happening with the computer system that's connected to the main concert speaker system that runs the whole thing, the main mixing board. And the guy that built all the racks and stuff wasn't really a computer person. So he's like, fuck, dude, what's going on with this computer system? It's not working. And I'm like, and I'm standing in the back next to the guy that told me don't say anything. And I'm like, dude, you guys are fucking idiots. Command V or whatever I don't remember anymore, but I was like, Command P will unpause or Command M1 mute all the channels. And then you can start running this. They're moving the stuff. Something's playing and they're moving the faders to like get the volume to come through the speakers, and like nothing's coming out. It's like a global mute system. And this is again at a time where you either like looked it up in the instruction manual, which of course they didn't have, or you couldn't just Google something like we Googled the Louisiana Purchase the other day. That didn't exist. So, he's like, oh man, what are we going to do? And he's like, go now, go. I walk up there and I'm like, dude, all you guys got to do is, and I didn't even think they're already running volume to the speaker. So I should have said, hey, set mute, if you hit this function, it'll global unpause or what. It was some situation with this. And I just hit the button and it just goes through the speakers. And he's like, it's like, everybody's like, oh, fuck, who the fuck fired this intern? Who the fuck's this guy? And then later on, like the assistant lady comes out and she's like, that's so funny, blah, blah, blah. And everything was fine. But it was like, dude, who's this kid? And how did he know what that function was?
Yep.
Can you run this stuff for us? Saturday night at the Hollywood Bowl. This is how I got the gig. Saturday night at the Hollywood Bowls. I didn't even get paid shit for the first gig I did, but it was literally the most prestigious music venue in the history of the planet. One of them. I would say maybe the little opera house, the famous little place in Australia with the wedges in the building. Yeah. Maybe that's a little more famous, but in the United States, Hollywood Bowl, pretty big deal, outdoor venue. And I remember being at that venue and checking everything through this little laptop with, the main mixer guy and my friend Dan, the speaker man. And I'm like, this is crazy dope. And in my head, I'm like, just don't even say anything. Let everybody come to you. Like, I listen to people when they tell me to do shit. And eventually somebody, comes up and they're like, hey, you want to grab your guitar and start checking the lines? And I'm like, checking the lines? What are you talking about? I'm like, check the lines. Like, plug your guitar into all the DI boxes and play through and make sure that they're all on. And I'm going to run over to the monitor board and Greg, it was Greg. Greg is going to stand at the main house and we're going to make sure that everything's calibrated. I'm like, okay. So I go up and I start playing. I start making up some dumbass shit because I can't help myself. And some guy hears me doing it. And, the next week I'm on the tour. No more intern.
That's awesome.
So that's how that happened. And then from there on, learned all that production shit, learned how to integrate what I do in my own way to producing my own productions, met the people that I wanted to produce live productions for, went on tour with them, got better in front of audiences and stuff. And that's literally all I've ever done. I've never worked, in between before that. I mean, I worked jobs and stuff, but after that, it was like game time. I'd rather sleep on a floor broke than do anything other than what I want to do with my life.
That's how I feel too. I will either be broke or super, super rich, but there's going to be no in between for me at the end of my life.
That's it. Totally. People have asked me so many times because I've hosted like real estate events or performed at this event or that event. They're like, "Do you sure you don't want to like get into like wholesaling or anything?" And I'm like, no, I don't care. I want to live in a house, but I don't want to like walk through houses that hoarders lived in with pizza boxes all over. No, this will work out for me if I keep following my calling. I was called to do this.
Yep. You were.
There's something out there for everybody that watches. You're called to do something. I encourage you to figure out what that is. If we can help you find your voice, get your message together, get your product line together, please don't hesitate to ask us. But there's something out there. I really believe that. My wife's a kid person. She went to early education. I wouldn't be able to do all of this if she wasn't so great with kids. We've got 2 kids that run around the house. And I've got like a little production studio in the house now. That wouldn't work without her. All these things will fall into place if you are willing to break down the barriers and the roadblocks that are going to come along the way. It's all part of the journey, bros and brodettes.
There's no doubt.
Anyway, I drank a bunch of coffee and I've got to go to the bathroom again.
Yo, I was just about to say it. I have to pee as well. So I think we end it here.
We've blessed you all enough. Until next time. Business and Buds. It's your boy, producer Pat, Mike Bryant, brought to you by Wellbeing Labs. Get yourself some, and then get your friend some. Get your cousin, get your aunt, get your dog some. We'll see you next time.